Hey guys, I was thinking recently that I've seen some comments of people who were happy to see the person behind the art, and I was thinking this morning how I have maybe a bit of fear or anxiety of like just being more open like this and making videos. And I thought, why am I afraid of this? I should probably, go into that and just get comfortable, just showing myself and talking. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is make videos like this every now and then. I don't know how often yet. I'm just kind of doing this spontaneously and just kind of go off the cuff, like not plan anything. Maybe if people have questions, they can, leave a comment on a video and suggest things that they would like to hear me talk about. Because I'd be happy to open up like this and talk about stuff. I like sharing things. I'm a very open person. Although I'm very introverted, I keep to myself a lot. I like to share everything like an open book. Sometimes I share too much, to be honest, but I try to keep it real and be myself, and that can change quite a lot over time. I go through a lot of changes pretty quickly, so I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm not the same person I was months ago. Like I'm constantly changing, and yeah, I'd like to share with you guys my experiences. I think the elephant in the room probably is how I've come to my faith, and I thought it probably would be worth sharing my testimony with my voice, so people can hear me talk about it instead of just read about it, because it's a little bit disconnected, when you just write it. If you hear me talk about it, maybe it can hit a bit differently, I guess. So it's a very strange thing, coming to faith the way I did, because I was not a faithful person. I was born sort of Catholic because I was baptized Catholic, but I didn't really grow up with parents that really pushed religion on me at all. I was not we didn't go to church. My parents were not really religious. I mean, they were sort of a bit. My mom mostly, not my dad, but it wasn't very clear that it was like we're following Jesus and we're going to church. It was just kind of like, oh, God, I believe in the spiritual things and I believe in God. But so it wasn't really a big thing growing up, and I kind of got detached from it pretty quickly. As I grew up, I think as many people, maybe a bit more on the intellectual side, they'll fall into the trap of intellectualizing everything, and you start to question everything. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but you can quickly, lose faith or not believe in anything that isn't just your senses. You assume that if you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't see it, it's not real. So you can quickly, go down a path where like the spirit realm doesn't exist. There's no spirit realm, and all these people who believe in these things are just crazy or stupid, or they're gullible, or they believe in fairy tales, whatever. They're just afraid of death, and they're making up stories to try and comfort themselves of what's going to happen when they die, or give their life some meaning and purpose. But you're like, oh, these people are ridiculous. They just, I don't know, why do they believe in this stuff? Like, they don't have any proof. So I'd say for a long period of my life, I was probably atheist. I mean, I don't think it was agnostic. I think it was atheist, because I was kind of like, it's not real. Like, it wasn't, I don't know. It was, this is not real and this is stupid. And, and most of that time was painful, because what that kind of leads you down into, at least for me, was kind of this nihilistic perspective of the world, that nothing has any meaning and there's no purpose, and all of this is for nothing, and it's just random, and we're just all these chemicals and molecules, and everything's random by chance. There's no order. There's nothing overseeing all this. There's no justice. There's no like ultimate justice in the end. People can get away with things. You can lie, you can cheat, you could do whatever, and no one knows if it's secret, right? So it kind of made me pretty bitter. I mean, that along with other bad experiences with people, and my, difficult relationship with my father, difficult situations socially in school, among other things. I won't really necessarily get into it right now. But, I dealt with depression really early on in my life. I struggled a lot with depression, anxiety. I was not comfortable in my own skin. I didn't really like myself. I mean, there was still good things in life. I enjoyed many things in life, like I always loved video games. I loved good food. I loved good music, all these things. But it's like at a deeper level, you're like the bigger picture. You're like, there's no point. What am I doing all this for? What's the point? What's the point of all this suffering? What's the point? It's kind of a bleak perspective when you're atheist. And I'd say like later on in my life, in my early 20s, when I had experiences with psychedelics, like specifically magic mushrooms, I think that's when the door really opened up for me, because I didn't know what I was getting into, first of all, and when I did have my first experience with it, with magic mushrooms, it really did shatter my ego and open me up to kind of a completely different way of seeing the world. In the experience itself, it kind of made me feel connected with everything. The visuals were beautiful, and it just kind of, there was very strange experiences with mushrooms that were almost, I'd say, spiritual, like mystical like experiences, where it feels like you're interacting with something that's outside of yourself, or like floating outside of your body, which I had that experience of kind of floating outside my body up to the ceiling, and just hearing, it sounds crazy, it sounds like schizophrenic, but it's like hearing voices that were not my own, but very, very loving and very, very encouraging, and reminding me of specific things I needed to forgive about people in my past, letting things go. It's not like a crazy voice. It's like a voice that was like wiser than I am, and it was like telling me the right things I needed to hear at that time, And I think when I had those experiences, and I was literally asking it questions, and it was answering me back. So it was the kind of experience that when you get out of it, you're not atheist anymore. You're like, the very least, I became agnostic, because I was like, okay, whoa, like life is way more mysterious and weird than I thought. There's much more going on here. And also keep in mind that like at the time, I was very into like philosophy, psychology, because I was trying to find anything I could to help with my mental health. Like my mental health was constantly a problem, and I was constantly trying to work on it, trying to fix it. And so I thought maybe psychology is the way, and it did help, but it doesn't fix the problem. You just get tools, you get tricks, and you learn how your mind works. But learning how your mind works doesn't necessarily fix what's causing the problems in the first place. Philosophy, it's very beautiful and helpful. You ask a lot of questions, and you get a lot of insight from, like the Stoics, for example, is just amazing, like very helpful for dealing with anxiety, for giving you kind of like a secular purpose. Like you get a sense of meaning and purpose from like a pretty secular angle. But it still didn't fully, I mean, it helped with anxiety, but it didn't fix my depressions, I'd say. I also was into like Eastern philosophy, like Taoism, or Taoism. It's one or the other. I keep forgetting. And like, people like Alan Watts and stuff, and Ram Dass, and Buddhism, and I almost like kind of went down every path I could avoid in Christianity most of my life. I went like in all these different directions. I went even into like, I started to explore kind of new agey spirituality stuff. I think that I could blame psychedelics as well for that, because I think once you get into that world, you start to get around people or talk with people who are really into psychedelics, and then they have this whole view of this of the spiritual, and it's all new agey and like crystals and occultism stuff and all kinds of things. I mean, God bless them. Like, they're not bad people. It's just that, I don't agree with that anymore. But there's lots of good people there, and a lot of useful things and things that were not useful at all, probably detrimental. So after those experiences, I had those experiences maybe once every year, with mushrooms, and to try and help, because it really did lower my depression, lower my social anxiety. It seemed to help with my creativity. It seemed to make me feel more comfortable expressing myself, at least. But it did make me feel like I was on shaky grounds with my personality. It made me feel like it was changing me too quickly, and it left me feeling a bit weird. It's hard to explain. So I knew this was not the way to go. Like, it's not something I can just keep doing forever. And the last time I did them, it seemed pretty clear that the message was that I shouldn't be doing this anymore. It was like, you don't need to do this. And I just didn't want to do it anymore, so I stopped. And it seemed like anxiety and depression kept coming back. It did not fix it. And I kept falling back down into the same traps, smoking too much weed, drinking too much alcohol, getting, caught up in loops of pornography or whatever, and just all kinds of different stupid things, all those seven deadly sins, like pride, just like gluttony, like thinking you deserve more, you expect more from people, and just lots of stupid things. And later on in my life, fast forward a bit, I'm still agnostic, and I'm kind of at a rock bottom place with like drinking too much and all that, smoking too much, and I'm depressed. And I'm basically just after work, I was having some pretty dark thoughts, I don't want to be too dramatic, but it is kind of like suicidal thoughts. It's where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this sucks. I don't like any of this. I don't like the people in my life. I don't like the situations I'm in. I don't like the habits I've got, like all these stupid things I'm doing over and over again. I hate this pattern. I keep going back in and out, depressed, not depressed. Like, you're just like, I want out. Like let me out of this. I don't want to be doing this all the time. And you kind of give up on yourself, and you don't have hope for a bright future, and you're seeing everything in a pessimistic way. You're just like pessimistic about everything. And as a non-believer, I prayed. I prayed like, if there is someone listening right now, if there is a God, then I could really use some help. I could use a sign. I could use anything to give me faith, or give me a reason to change. Like, I could just use some help, just anything, because nothing worked. None of these philosophies, none of this psychedelics, none of no knowledge of psychology, philosophy, Taoism, Alan Watts, whatever, all this stuff, none of it worked. None of it worked. So I needed something more, and because things were not looking good. So I prayed, and I didn't expect anything. I just, said that if there's anyone listening, then I could really use some help. I could use a sign, and I'll change my life around, give me something to believe in, and I'll change. And then, I forgot about it, moved on. I think like a week goes by. And yeah, about a week goes by, and then out of nowhere, I finished working. I remember I was working on something. I finished it, and I was sitting on my desk in my room, right over there. and I started to feel this similar feeling as like a magic mushroom trip, where things start to feel really kind of vibrating and wobbly. I felt like this light, floaty feeling, and I felt this kind of like this presence enter the room. Um, and it's not necessarily visual, but you feel something very heavy in the room appear, and it's like your perception of the room changes. And I felt this kind of awe, this fear, this awestruck feeling. It's almost like, I imagine, like if you saw a UFO or something, but that UFO was inside your room. It was like very bright. Um, I felt all this love, like a wave of love hit me. And I remember being brought to my knees. I got on the floor and I was completely overwhelmed with this feeling of love and understanding and forgiveness. Um, yeah, like it understood me, and it was like there was a communication going on, but it wasn't with words. It was just like understood immediately. Like I know it sounds crazy. And I don't expect anyone to believe me, but I'm telling you, whatever that was, I felt it. It was there. Well, I know now. I feel now like this was Jesus or God or the Holy Spirit. But it it just washed away all my pain, all my depression, all my anxiety, all my worries. Like everything just kind of, I felt this release, just so much relief. And at the same time, I immediately felt like repenting, like as in I was so sorry for not believing, and because it was clear to me right now that this was kind of like a supernatural thing going on. And it's an overwhelming experience when it happens. Or when it happened, it was overwhelming. I was completely shocked, and I also happened to kind of get this download or like imagery of kind of Christian like things, like it's very strange. It would make no sense, to try and explain it, but it's just like seeing things in my mind, like the cross and stuff, and just things about like just Jesus. And I realized that like all this time I was avoiding this faith for some reason, and that this was real. That this is real. Um, and so from it was like a short experience. It was probably just a few minutes, and I was brought to tears. Like if you've had a psychedelic experience, you might come close to understanding what this is like. But if you haven't had anything like this happen to you, and you haven't had any experience with psychedelics, this will sound completely insane. This will sound like someone who's lost his mind and is schizophrenic, and I get that. But like I said, imagine, I guess, like if you saw a UFO, how weird that would be. But imagine if a UFO came into your room, like a glowing white orb. That's kind of, what it's like. And then imagine trying to explain that to people in your life. Imagine trying to explain to your best friend or your parents or whatever that you had this experience, and you can't. Like I couldn't talk about it. I felt crazy. I felt like that people are going to think I've completely lost my mind and I need to go to a mental asylum or something. But I felt so much better after that experience. I felt complete relief. And yeah, so things got better for a while after that. All my addictions stopped. I had no interest in smoking weed, no interest in drinking, no like watching pornography or anything. Like all these bad habits were like kind of just washed away. They were gone, and my creativity had come back, and everything was looking up from there. I was feeling pretty good. I was even like invited to church by someone that I had worked with, and it was really nice, and I had some really beautiful experiences, you know. And I forgot to mention too that like I happened to find out the next day that my grandmother had just passed away at the same time that I had this experience, right? So that's also very weird. Um, I had also just gone through like a big breakup and at the time, and it was a hard time. And then I tried to open up a bit about this experience, and it was like I could tell this she just thought I was crazy, you know, that I lost my mind. So that kind of anyways, I didn't bother anymore trying to like talk about it with it. I tried to talk about it a bit with her, but it was a bad idea. I realized I should just keep this to myself mostly. Um, I talked about it with my mom and my parents, and that went pretty well. My mom was quite understanding, and she's quite faithful now, it seems. Um, but yeah, so you know, things got better for a while, and then I fell back into a lot of temptations, a lot of my old ways started to come back. I started to be um, like I dealt with a lot of kind of like voices. I guess you could call them voices in my head of just trying to bring me back down to a dark place, I guess. And I, I was struggling. I was having a hard time because I couldn't really talk about this with people, um, and I became very aware of my sins. Like everything that I was doing that was bad, everything that was wrong. They made me feel a lot of guilt and shame, and I know that's not the way to deal with it. But at the time, I didn't have much knowledge. You know, I had just started reading the Bible to get an understanding of things better, and but I was struggling, and I would say that within a few months, I started to fall back down again into struggling a lot with my mental health, and um, I don't think the depression was ever came back quite as badly, but I was still struggling quite a bit. Although I had faith, and that was a very beautiful thing. I'm very grateful for my faith, and I don't think that's ever going away. Um, but I struggled with, I'd say, figuring out what it was that I was meant to do with this. You know, what am I supposed to do now? What now? Like, I can't really be the same way I was before, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be. And I felt like the Christians that I was getting to know, they were like too, like, it was like they're too pure and they're too Christian. Like, I'm not Christian enough for them. And then the other people in my life that were more secular or agnostic or into other stuff, it was like I didn't fit in with them either. So I felt again like I don't fit in, I don't belong, and I don't know who I am, and I don't know what I need to do. So it was were hard times, and but I kept going. You know, the funny thing too is that you know with like my best friend and my family, and like I never wanted to share these problems with any of them. You know, I didn't want people to be worried about me. Like I never wanted. I've always told my mom like, don't worry. You know, like I don't want her to worry about me. I never wanted my friend to worry about me or to think that I'm crazy. And like coming to believe like this is like I don't want to push this on anyone either. You know, especially not my friend who's agnostic, and I don't want to push it on my parents. But I can talk about it with my mom. You know, she believes, so it's fine. But I don't want to push this on anyone. And all of my struggles I was going through, depression, anxiety, I always tried to keep it mostly to myself because um, I I just don't want my problems to be someone else's problem. I want to deal with it myself, and as a friend, I'm just going to be as good of a friend as I can be, um, and just make things better instead of like worse. Like I don't want to cause any worry. So, anyways, uh, yeah, I don't even know where I was. I mean, things got worse for like a year and a half. Like I stopped drawing. I was kind of I felt some guilt a bit about the art that I had made. Not like everything, but just I knew that the kind of art I was making, it was often struggling between trying to represent love and sexuality in a healthy way, and also this pull of like lust and just like drawing what seemed to get a lot of likes or just get more support from people. And it's just like it was the wrong motives, and I was falling into a trap of like lust with art, and it was often tilting in the wrong direction. um, and I just was like caring too much about external validation, caring too much what other people think, caring too much about likes, caring too much about the algorithm. It was just another thing that was messing with my mental health. Like social media can be pretty toxic on your mental health. So it was probably good to like take almost 2 years off. Um, but yeah, more recently, I basically was again, smoking and drinking and just not in a good place. And then I was dealing with some gut issues, like some pretty bad gut issues too. And it was like at a moment with my friend where we ate some like spicy, really, really spicy chicken wings. And it was great, but it's just like I had horrible stomach aches, and I had horrible stomach issues for like a full week. And it was just, I was actually worried, very worried. I thought I was going to have to go to a doctor. I almost went. And so it was like another kind of rock bottom, mentally and physically this time. And this time I just asked for help to find out like how can I heal myself, and also while I'm at it, how can you like I was asking like, can you help me find out how to be who I'm meant to be? Like, what do you want me to be? Like, can you guide me in the right direction? Can you guide me to be who I'm meant to become? And just guide me to like be healthier, because I need to be healthier again. Um, so yeah, and then I started to just get like really interested in health stuff, and I started to fix up my health and fix up my gut. I started to do all the right things. I cut out drinking and smoking and again all the bad things, and I completely fixed my gut. And I truly think that my gut was compromised for like many years. I was struggling digesting all kinds of foods. I was having all kinds of problems. I was crashing all the time, just low energy. I even think that that was probably partially responsible for depression and anxiety. It was like gut problems. So it turns out that I needed to heal my gut. I needed to start eating properly. I needed to fast. Um, so now I just have a much shorter eating window between like 12 to 5, and just like cutting out sugars, cutting out a lot of carbs, higher protein diet and fibers and healthy fats, working out much more, going for long walks. So like fixing myself from the foundation up, from the body. And then so so the mind can't really be healthy without a healthy body. So I fixed the body, fixed the mind, and everything started to get way better really quickly. Like I had so much more energy. I had um, just like this new hope again. I was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, because I have like 3 times more energy. My workouts are way better. My and I'm actually like having a new appreciation for cooking healthy food. And my palate has changed now, like because I'm eating different. It's just I actually enjoy just good, uh, good healthy food. And honestly, I'm probably saving quite a lot of money, not spending on Uber Eats all the time, to be honest. But so yeah, I'm just way healthier in a very short amount of time. It's probably 3 months now. Um, and this has come along with a kind of a change in my faith again, of just way more conviction. I'm way more convinced. I mean, I was convinced, but I have just I felt like I'm much closer to God right now, and I feel much more faithful. And I feel like, okay, this is just, there's really something to this. Like, you enter into a relationship with God and you pray, and you can there's an exchange, there's a back and forth. When you ask, something answers. It's like that passage of the verse, like, those who knock, the door will be opened. And now it's just, my creativity came back as well. I'm not as scared of like expressing myself. I mean, I realize that like talking about these things will push a lot of people away and scare some people away, but I'm not afraid to be who I am anymore. And I think that like being my authentic self in the end, having the courage to just say exactly what I want to say and be who I am, is going to attract the right kind of people and push away the people who don't belong in my life anyways. So this is the way I want to go about things now. I want to be 100% myself, transparent, authentic, real. And sometimes I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say stupid things. I mean, I say stupid things all the time, and I'm still, a sinful human being. I'm not any holier than anyone else. I'm just, I'm struggle just as much as anyone else, but I am going to try my best to do good and to align my art towards honoring God, trying to focus on beauty, love, truth, to inspire, maybe to inspire faith, to open people up. And I'm having more and more conversations every day with people who are kind of on the fence, and it's a beautiful opportunity that I have now, that I get to help people who have struggled with similar things that I've struggled with. I love that. I love being able to help people. So that's what I'm hoping to do with my art and with my voice, with what I share, with everything I share in my stories, with doing videos maybe like this. And I hope that I can just keep staying on this path and doing the best that I can. So I'm really grateful for everyone who's supporting, who's around. It means a lot. I'm really, really grateful for all of you who are supportive. It means the world. So, yeah, I'm gonna maybe do more of these. This has been way longer than I thought, but I'm probably gonna do much shorter videos than this. But I felt I needed to share my testimony like this, so that it can be more real than just writing it and that you read it. So yeah, anyways, thanks guys.